When equipment fails, survival hinges on what's readily at hand. In times of extreme hardship, when possessions were lost, damaged, or destroyed, what truly kept individuals alive? It wasn't the meticulously organized backpack, the specialized kit, or the costly items displayed neatly on a table. For the past century, survival rhetoric has often reduced preparedness to a mere shopping list, promoting titanium gadgets with multiple functions, and measuring readiness by financial outlay and feature count. Yet, historical accounts paint a starker picture. During World War II, soldiers didn't endure due to their extensive gear. Their survival often depended on what they could access intuitively. When chaos reigned, strategies unraveled, vehicles were consumed by fire, and their packs vanished. Imagine the muddy terrain of Normandy, where boots and gear were swallowed whole. The chilling Ardennes winter, where metal adhered to skin and fingers became unresponsive. The North African desert, where heat incapacitated machinery before any bullets could. Or the Pacific humidity, which deteriorated equipment from the inside out. In such environments, survival wasn't a matter of what one carried on their back, but rather what was carried on their person, nestled in pockets, accessible in darkness with trembling hands under duress, agony, and exhaustion. This is a reality that modern survival culture often avoids. Survival was never about accumulating more. It was about having less and mastering its application. This overlooked principle has a name, the pocket core. It's not an item or a device, but a mindset that silently preserved countless lives when all else crumbled. World War II unequivocally dismantled the romanticized notion of gear, shattering its allure more effectively than any marketing campaign ever could. Prior to the conflict, military strategists envisioned seamless supply lines, cohesive units, and dependable equipment. Combat quickly dispelled these illusions. Explosions obliterated packs, vehicles incinerated in moments, and paratroopers landed miles off target with only the clothes on their backs. Entire operational plans disintegrated in an instant. In these dire circumstances, pockets ceased to be mere storage compartments. They transformed into vital life insurance. Every item stowed there had to justify its presence, not through inventive design or novelty, but through unyielding necessity. Weight was critical. Durability was paramount. Failure often meant injury or death. Soldiers had no interest in tools that poorly performed 20 tasks. They demanded implements that flawlessly executed 1 or 2 functions, every single time. This is where contemporary thinking falters. Today, we admire tools that appear impressive in calm situations. However, World War II infantry did not rely on anything necessitating fine motor skills, delicate adjustments, or careful manipulation. They trusted tools built to withstand abuse, items that could be dropped, used for prying, struck, frozen, soaked, and still operate. History acted as a filter for gear, much like nature filters species. Fragile items vanished. Complicated mechanisms failed. Anything unmanageable with numb fingers was rendered obsolete by the harsh realities of war. Across diverse nations, climates, and theatres, a consistent pattern emerged. Simple tools endured because simple tools were reliable. This relentless efficiency gave rise to something far more significant than any individual piece of equipment. The concept of a core, an indispensable minimum, a survival capacity that was not easily compromised. And that core resided in the pocket. To grasp the essence of the pocket core, one must shed the conditioning of modern preparedness marketing. The pocket core is not merely a collection of items, a loadout, or a self-referential display. It functions as a system, defined by three historical imperatives. First, it demands instant access. A pocket core tool must be retrievable without hesitation, without the need for unpacking, and even in darkness. Second, it requires independent functionality. Each tool must operate autonomously, performing its task without reliance on another mechanism. Third, it ensures no cascading failure. If one tool breaks, all others must remain fully operational. Herein lies the divergence between World War II tools and contemporary multi-tools. While a multi-tool promises comprehensive utility in a single unit, history demonstrates that integration often introduces vulnerability. Hinges can jam, springs can snap, and nested components become useless if a single part fails. Under pressure, complexity becomes a disadvantage. World War II engineers instinctively understood this. Their primary question wasn't, what additional functions can this tool perform? But rather, how did it fail last time? This question profoundly influenced design. Edges were softened, tips were reinforced, and designs were systematically simplified until the remaining article could withstand dirt, blood, sand, and extreme cold. The outcome was not aesthetic appeal, but absolute dependability. The pocket core was never intended to impress. Its sole purpose was to function when all else failed. Once this principle is understood, the tools themselves make perfect sense, not as mere gadgets, but as physical extensions of human capability. In the subsequent section, we will examine these tools individually, beginning with the most frequently misunderstood: the blade. When people visualize a soldier's knife, they often conjure a dramatic image, a combat blade, a symbol of aggression designed to intimidate. However, this perception aligns more with cinematic portrayal than historical reality. In World War II, the knife primarily served as a tool, not a weapon, and its appearance reflected this utilitarian purpose. There was nothing fantastical or tactical about it. No elaborate serrations, oversized guards, or preoccupation with aesthetics. A soldier's blade existed for practical work, not for show. It was used to cut ropes, open rations, fashion wood for stakes and shelters, scrape grime from equipment, trim bandages, and even dig shallow defensive positions when no other implement was available. Crucially, it was never treated as a precious possession. A World War II blade was frequently sharpened, often dulled, and subjected to daily abuse. It was used for prying, struck against hard surfaces, and dropped in mud and snow. Soldiers had no reservations about damaging it, because a tool that couldn't withstand damage had no place in a pocket where life or death decisions might be made. Original knives from that era silently narrate this story. Worn edges, rounded corners, tips reinforced through redesign and regular use. These were not imperfections, they were evidence. Evidence of tools shaped by practical reality, not artistic embellishment. The blade was not designed to impress anyone. Its purpose was direct interaction with the physical world: wood, fiber, metal, flesh, fabric. It represented the juncture where human intention met material resistance. This is a lesson often overlooked in modern society. A knife is not an accessory or photographic fodder. It is a functional cutting edge designed to resolve tangible problems under challenging conditions. If it cannot fulfill this role, it does not belong in your pocket. If the blade was the most frequently misunderstood tool of World War II, the screwdriver was undoubtedly the most undervalued. Lacking drama and symbolism, it nonetheless proved to be among the most crucial survival implements carried by soldiers. Sometimes it was a distinct tool, sometimes improvised, and occasionally integrated into a buckle or a field repair kit. Yet, its objective remained constant: ensuring mechanical operation. Rifles required adjustment, crates needed to be pried open, vehicles demanded coaxing for just one more mile, and wires had to be twisted, bent, or cut free. None of these challenges were resolved by intricate features. They were conquered by leverage. A screwdriver was more than just a device for turning screws. It was the application of torque through steel. It functioned as a lever. When brute force superseded delicacy, it transformed into a chisel, a scraper, or a pry bar, adapting to the immediate need. Its effectiveness stemmed from its lack of reliance on precision. In freezing conditions, when fingers lost sensation and fine motor control vanished, a screwdriver remained usable. It could be struck, leaned upon, or twisted with the entire arm if required. It tolerated dirt, blood, sand, and misuse, disregarding alignment or fragility. Contrast this with contemporary bit drivers, fold-out tools, and miniature accessories. They promise convenience, but demand ideal conditions, rarely present under stress. They require precise positioning, steady hands, and mechanisms that remain clean and unobstructed. World War II revealed a harsher truth. Most breakdowns are mechanical, and mechanical issues are not resolved by added features, but by leverage. This lesson holds as much relevance in modern times as it did on the battlefields of Europe. Contemporary survival culture often seeks a singular solution. One tool to address every need. One item to render all others obsolete. On paper, this concept appears efficient. In reality, it fosters a dangerous misconception. World War II soldiers rejected this notion, understanding a fundamental truth about systems under duress. Separation fosters resilience. A blade performed cutting tasks. A screwdriver managed torque. Each tool operated independently. If one failed, the others remained functional, preventing a cascading failure. No single mechanical breakdown disabled the entire system. Multi-tools undermine this separation. A broken hinge can render every function useless. A jammed mechanism can transform a dozen features into dead weight. Under stress, such complexity becomes a liability. The human body itself reinforces this reality. Stress diminishes dexterity. Cold stifles joints. Fatigue impairs coordination. In these moments, fine motor skills vanish, leaving gross movements, strength, leverage, and simplicity as the only reliable options. World War II tools were engineered for this reality. They endured mud, sand, blood, and impact out of necessity. Anything requiring delicate handling was quietly replaced in pockets by items designed to withstand abuse. Modern tools often fail, not due to poor craftsmanship, but because they are designed for inappropriate conditions. People often assume ample time, good lighting, and calm hands are available. However, history teaches us otherwise. The pocket core endured because it valued distinction over amalgamation. It embraced limits for greater dependability, a trade-off proven invaluable in even the direst conditions. 7. Skill trumps steel, the unseen advantage of World War II soldiers. There's a fundamental truth underlying every piece of equipment we've discussed so far, a truth more critical than metal, sharper than any blade, and significantly harder to substitute. The resourcefulness of World War II soldiers didn't come from their tools. It came from their innate abilities. Many of these soldiers matured in an environment devoid of modern conveniences. They were farmers, mechanics, carpenters, and labourers who routinely worked with their hands long before they ever held a rifle. They grasped the concept of leverage because they had struggled with unyielding objects. They understood wood grain because they had seen it split unexpectedly. They recognized tension because things broke when pushed too far. To them, a tool was never merely an implement. A screwdriver wasn't just for screws. It served as a lever when force was needed, a wedge for separation, or a scoring edge when precision could yield to speed. A knife transcended its basic function. It became a splitter, a scraper, a cutter, or a shaper, depending on the immediate task. This profound familiarity transformed everything. A single tool could offer multiple solutions, not because it possessed numerous features, but because the mind wielding it perceived opportunities rather than impediments. This is an advantage modern society has quietly forfeited. Today, we replace rather than repair, purchase rather than practice. When something malfunctions, we instinctively reach for a credit card, instead of seeking to understand the cause of its failure. Over time, this erodes self-reliance, fostering dependence on objects instead of mastery of skills. World War II demanded the opposite. Scarcity cultivated competence. Failure provided immediate, invaluable lessons that remained with soldiers long after the war concluded. The pocket core functioned effectively because it was paired with hands that instinctively knew what to do when circumstances deviated from the plan. 8. Applying the pocket core, today, without theatrics. So, how can we apply this principle to contemporary life without turning preparedness into a mere spectacle or nostalgic exercise? It begins with simplification. Evaluate your everyday carry, keeping only what genuinely performs. Disregard items that look clever or merely advertise readiness. Instead, choose what embodies the practical logic proven by history. At its core should be a robust locking knife. It shouldn't be excessively large or purely ornamental, but long enough for practical use. A 3 to 4 inch blade with a thick spine capable of enduring pressure and rough handling. This isn't a collectible. It's your primary means of interacting with the physical world. Alongside it, carry a separate flathead screwdriver, not a replaceable bit, nor a folding attachment, but a solid piece of steel that can apply substantial torque. This single implement replaces a multitude of fragile accessories and addresses issues most people don't foresee until it's too late. If you choose to expand, add a pair of real pliers, not miniature ones, but something you can grip even while wearing gloves, capable of cutting wire, holding securely, and withstanding strain. Notice what is deliberately absent. No bottle openers. No multifunction compromises with 20 features. No elements designed more for superficial impression than genuine durability. Yet, tools alone are insufficient. Skills must accompany them. Use your knife to create feather sticks instead of simply observing others. Take your screwdriver and dismantle the equipment you rely on, then reassemble it. Practice mending items instead of replacing them. This is how a simple pocket core transforms into a multiplier for survival, not through mere ownership, but through deep familiarity. 9. The psychology of preparedness. Fundamentally, the pocket core isn't merely a lesson in hardware, it's a psychological insight. World War II instilled a principle that modern culture resists. Preparedness isn't about accumulating more possessions, it's about diminishing needs. It's about discerning possibilities where others perceive limitations. One tool, 5 solutions. This mindset sustained individuals when resupply failed and plans disintegrated. Contemporary survival culture frequently promotes comfort through acquisition, suggesting that more gear equates to greater security. However, history demonstrates the contrary. Authentic survival stems from discernment, from recognizing what genuinely matters when all else is stripped away. This is why the most crucial step is an introspection, not of your finances, but of your mindset. Pose challenging questions to yourself. Would this tool still function after a week submerged in mud? Would I trust it in shaky hands, with diminishing light? Does it exist because it is genuinely effective, or merely because it looks impressive when displayed on a table? The pocket core compels honesty. It dispels the illusion of safety, replacing it with something far more dependable: comprehension, capability, and confidence, forged through practical application. And this is why this lesson retains its relevance today. History is not meant to be passively observed or merely collected. It is meant to refine our thinking, our readiness, and our capacity for survival. 10. Final conclusion. Pockets still determine survival. When meticulously laid plans fall apart, when necessary supplies vanish, and when every presumed reliance evaporates, the undeniable truth emerges. Survival does not hinge on the most extensive kit, the latest innovation, or the priciest tool. It belongs to what you can effortlessly access, to what you instinctively know how to employ when apprehension restricts your breathing and stress impedes your fine motor skills. It belongs to what persists when comfort dissipates and stark reality takes hold. Hence, the pocket core is neither obsolete nor primitive, and certainly not merely nostalgic. It is grounded in physics, psychology, and a logic rigorously tested under the most extreme conditions imaginable. Physics demonstrates that leverage outweighs complexity. Psychology reveals that simplicity endures under duress. History conclusively proves that tools only last when paired with proficiency and discipline. World War II did not reward abundance. It rewarded clarity. It lauded individuals who understood that fewer tools, thoughtfully selected and profoundly mastered, held greater value than any assortment of intricate features. The essence of the pocket core was never about the equipment itself. It was about discernment, about recognizing what truly mattered when all else was stripped away. That profound lesson remains pertinent today. In a society fixated on acquisition, history presents a quieter, more incisive truth. Preparedness is not cultivated by possessing more, but by comprehending more, practicing more, and relying less on objects and more on our own capabilities. Therefore, examine your pockets, scrutinize your routines, and confront the questions history has already answered for us. Would this item work when conditions are unforgiving? Would I trust it when my hands are trembling? Do I possess this because it performs, or because it impresses? Because history is not meant to be collected. It is not meant to languish on a shelf or merely hang on a wall.